You guys don't need to worry about AI taking your jobs. You need to worry about the fact that you are causing your prospect because you've never learned how to have proper communication. You don't know how to listen. You don't know how to use tonality, and it's not your fault. I'm not blaming you. They don't make the sales they need because they don't make enough effort to learn why they're causing their prospect to do this. And unfortunately, your sales manager was trained by the previous generation of salespeople that causes resistance. Right? You joined a brokerage. It's reputable. It's got good agents. There's people making money. You see their signs out there. You pick, I did my due diligence. I joined an agency, but we don't know what those top agents are doing behind the scenes. What's up? Welcome back. Hey, if you guys have not checked out my last video, where I got real and raw. My name's Vikram Diol. Pretty interesting video. Got a little emotional there. Maybe worth checking out if you want to get to know me a little better. I wanted to thank somebody from Instagram, Tyler M. Jorgensen, for the inspiration on this video. So Tyler reaches out to me on Instagram, and I don't want anybody to go out and flame him. He has his heart and soul probably in the right place, just doesn't know how to go around and do this. And I used to do this too. As a young seller, I would reach out to somebody and I would say, hey, I wanted to offer you a free session to see if there's something that I can help you with. And when they said no to me, I would be like a little aggressive with them. So Tyler reached out and said, yo, Vikram, what do you specialize in teaching? Solely real estate sales, right? So you already know it's a pitch, right? Because I don't know who this guy is. So I was like, yeah, that's my niche. What's up? That's awesome. Is there an average session amount or amount of weeks before people have the knowledge to get a deal? Like, kind of a weird question to ask, right? It's not really resonate because when I click on his profile, he's not in real estate. So I know he's there's an angle there, but I just don't know what his angle is. I said, not following, how do you mean? When people start working with you, how early do you see? I'm curious in real estate. He says, transparently, I help coaches like you print money. Well, that wasn't really transparent. Right? Like that's already starting out as a backdoor entryway into my world. And that's what so many salespeople try to do. They try to backdoor their way into a prospect. So it'll be like an expired listing call where the real estate agent says, because I heard this from some guru on stage that's never actually sold anything, tell them you have a buyer. Well, how is it that there's 400 agents calling me, the seller, the day that my property goes off the market saying we have a buyer for your property? Wait, what? Like, we used to use that script and it felt so inauthentic, right? Well, how do you have a buyer all of a sudden for my property? Like, where did all this newfound traffic come from overnight? Like, how is this possible, right? Like, it doesn't even make sense to me that we would allow that kind of nonsensical, inauthentic, salesy script in here. So he says, actually, transparently, I have a completely done for you agency that will get you leads. And we've been working closely with all these other people. I'm sure you've heard of them before. Why would you assume I've heard of these people? Why? They're not in my niche. Why would you assume that I heard of these people? Why would you make an assumption that I follow those people? Why would you assume that I have a need for your service? Why would you make any of those assumptions when we don't know each other? Right? He's like, I just wanted to offer you this, see if there's any interest in a video I made walking you step by step on a 3x your blah, blah, blah. On average, earning our clients at like $10,000 to $30,000 more in their monthly recurring revenue. How do you even know I have a problem with my business right now? Bro, you don't know me. You don't know my business. You didn't ask me about my business. So anyways, he keeps reaching out to me. And so finally today, he reached out at 2:33 in the morning, right? Which is crazy. Like, who reaches out at 2:33? So maybe it's his assistant VA somewhere overseas. And then I ignored him. And then today at 1 o'clock, he said, Vikram, are you alive? LOL. And I just said, your pitch sucks. And he goes, I can, laughing out loud, emoji, I can smell the arrogance. And I think that this is the standard way that people operate in sales, right? This is the standard way. And then when you guys offer something, right? Now, I've heard this with new clients that I work for, right? The first thing you guys have to do, right? One of my mentors, Jeremy Miner, talks about the first thing we need to do is we need to figure out if there is a sale there, right? Like, I used to always tell my reps, hey, if they don't need, like, if you're selling Cutco knives and they just bought a $2,000 set of kitchen knives, there probably isn't a huge need for kitchen knives right now. Now, maybe in 5 years, when they're tired of sharpening their current knives, right? Maybe then there's a need. But if they just went out and spent a bunch of money, they might not have the need for what you're completely selling. But there's a whole bunch of other stuff. There's sport knives, there's gifts, there's gardening tools, there's barbecue tools, there's flatware, there's cookware, right? There was a whole lineup of other things you could potentially sell them. But if they just went out and bought a brand new set of kitchen knives and you're trying to sell them on the kitchen knives, you're probably not going to make it happen unless they have a need and they say, oh, these knives suck, we don't like them, or we like these better, but they're really rich, they want to have it. But you're probably not going to sell them knives. You'll sell them accessories. And I used to beat that into my rep's head. Hey, only sell them what they need, right? When you ask great questions, right? This is what I learned as a kid. When you ask great questions, people will tell you what they need and what they want, right? And then it's your job to bridge the gap with what you offer to make that happen, right? We don't have to make up things. We don't have to try to figure it out. Oh, do they want a 4-bedroom house or a 5-bedroom house? No, they'll tell you we need a 5-bed house, or we need 4 bedrooms and an office, or we need 4 bedrooms, office, and a bonus room, or we need 5 bedrooms and a den, right? They'll tell you exactly what they need. And then if you can't find it in their budget, which happens, you then say, hey, well, based off of what's out there, if you want to live here, this is our options. If you want to live here, these are our options. If you want to live here, these are our options. So this gentleman that sent me this, you must be, I can smell your arrogance from here, right? Maybe you can. Maybe I am arrogant, but I don't effing know you. And I don't know why you're talking to me in a way that is not encouraging me to want to communicate with you. And then instead of being like, yo, your pitch sucks, like, hey, I'm sorry, bro. Like, I didn't mean to catch you off guard. I didn't mean to offend you. Can we start this conversation over? Clearly you're talking to me, which is better than a lot of people, right? So like now we got somebody who's talking to us and we start fighting them. And I've heard this with my clients before when I first started working with them. They're like, well, I teach them one of our scripts. It's a script that we used to use, and it's a reactivation script, and we call it a Sharon script, but it's like, hey, has anybody sat down, right? Sharon just cleans it up, but this is what we used to say when we sold real estate, and we'd have a buyer or seller, and they're like, well, we're not ready to meet. I'm like, no worries. Like we are a lead generation company. Like we just happen to sell real estate, but our main business is lead generation. Like we generated tons of leads for our company. I said, we're not trying to sell you anything. We're just trying to educate you on the market. And I'm sorry that maybe you had a bad experience, or I don't know if you had a bad experience in the past, but would you be opposed to sitting down for a few minutes so that we could educate you on what it takes to buy in today's marketplace? Would you be opposed to sitting down, right? So we can educate you and answer all of your questions on what it takes to buy in this market. And it's a zero cost, zero obligation, risk-free thing. We just know that if we help enough people, eventually some of y'all are going to say yes to us, and eventually some of y'all are going to make us some money. But if we educate 10 of you and 6 or 7 of you transact, like that's a good day, right? Whereas most people, they come in with the Tyler situation and they offer that, hey, would you be opposed to sitting down and having a quick cup of coffee, and we can answer any questions and educate you on the 3 most important things that it takes to buy in today's marketplace. What happens with a lot of people is the prospect says, no, we're not, because you've already triggered sales resistance at the beginning of your conversation, whether it's you didn't know how to use a script, you didn't know how to use your tonality, you didn't know how to use your cadence, and you do what this gentleman Tyler over here, and again, I'm not mad at Tyler. I think Tyler is a very standard seller, right? He's a very standard salesperson, and he just doesn't know the facts of the matter is that he triggered me by lying to me, right? Then he's like right? Like, we go through the back door, then it's full transparency. Well, we don't actually have a buyer yet for your property, Mr. Seller. We just wanted to get our foot in the door and try to give you a listing presentation. And then you guys get mad when you do all the work, and the seller's like, I thought I was showing you my house for a buyer. You're coming over here with false motives, right? You are being inauthentic. You're lying. You want me to be the trusted advisor, right? You want me to think of you as a trusted advisor, but you lied to get into my house. And now you're trying to sit me down at a table for a 45-minute presentation that I didn't agree to. And you're upset at me saying that, like, you don't want to sell your home, blah, blah. Like, whoa, people, slow down, back up. That freight train needs to leave the station and never come back. You need to get back on the station platform and reevaluate who you are as a salesperson and what you're saying to trigger sales resistance. So when you are talking to your prospect, right, when you are having a conversation with your prospect and you say, hey, have you ever been educated? And they say, no, we're still not interested. And then you start grilling them and pressing them and creating more anxiety for them, more uncertainty for them, more fear for them, more lack of confidence in you about your process for them. They keep putting their wall higher and higher and higher and higher, right? And the higher that wall goes, the more it's going to take you to break that wall down, even on future calls, which is why most real estate agents do 1.4 follow-up calls or less, right? They don't make the sales they need because they don't make enough effort to learn why they're causing their prospect. Unfortunately, your sales manager was trained, right, by the previous generation of salespeople that causes resistance. You guys don't need to worry about AI taking your jobs. You need to worry about the fact that you are causing your prospect because you've never learned how to have proper communication. You don't know how to listen. You don't know how to use tonality, and it's not your fault. I'm not blaming you, right? You joined a brokerage. It's reputable. It's got good agents. There's people making money. You see their signs out there. I think I did my due diligence. I joined an agency but we don't know what those top agents are doing behind the scenes. Most of those top agents aren't going to the office meetings to learn their sales skills. Would you learn sales skills from somebody who's never made 7 figures, right? Would you learn at the gym from somebody who doesn't have the discipline and the habits to have the body that you aspire to have? I won't hire a fat trainer at the gym. Why? Is it because I'm, this unsupportive, ignorant, bigot? No, it's because I want to see the person in front of me know that they've done the work, know that it's possible, and that I can stand on their shoulders. But if the person telling me to eat healthy and not go out and not drink and get enough sleep, right, so that my body can recover, but they're not doing it themselves, it doesn't make sense to me. Well, unfortunately, most sales trainers at your office aren't the exceptional salespeople, which is why it's hard for them to train you to be an exceptional salesperson, because they haven't had hundreds and thousands of calls and meetings. And so when your prospect's triggered, right, like this guy right here, Mr. Tyler, right, I'm sure he's a nice guy, you guys. Seriously, I'm sure he is a really nice guy. But instead of him saying, hey, whoa, I don't even know what I did to trigger you, but clearly you're pissed off and you clearly are not happy with what I'm doing or saying, you're clearly not responding. Maybe we could start over again, right? Which would be the same thing that you'd say, hey, Mr. Buyer, look. My job is to sit down with you and educate you, right? Not like, when they say, oh, we're not ready. We don't want, oh, you're not wasting my time. It's my job, right? You guys, it's salesy. Hey, Mr. Seller, whoa. I did not, if I offended you, I apologize. Not sorry, I apologize. I apologize if I offended you. Simply my job is to sit down and educate consumers like you, whether you use me or not. It's my job. It's my duty. It's my duty as a real estate professional to make sure the people in this market have the education to make the right choices. That is my duty. That is my job. That is my pride. And I know that you might not use me. I know that everybody I sit down with, Mr. Sellers, Mr. Buyer, is not going to use me. Right now, you might not say all of that, but that is how you need to think. Customer service, not sales, right? Sales is actually customer service, right? So the more customer service mindset you have, the more service oriented you are, the more sales you're going to make. Cody, my partner on the RE Agent podcast, and really great friend, like pretty much became a brother very quickly to me. And Shran Shrivata, the president of Real Brokers, who's been a mentor of mine for 12 years, we talk about this all the time. Shran talks about this with his $1 million plus elite group of real estate agents that he privately coached for 5 years. He says, guys, you have to sit down with the 6-month, you have to sit down with the 12-month, you have to sit down with the 18-month buyer, because the person who sits down with them today will be able to educate them. And most buyers are not liars. They are just misinformed. So if you can't get your foot in the door because you're triggering sales resistance, and you don't know how to handle the objections other than, well, let me tell you why you need to sit down with me. Or you're like, well, what works better for you? Tuesday at 2 or 4 on Thursday? And they're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Or you ask the question like this, hey, what's your time frame to buy? The third question out of your mouth, what's your time frame to buy? That's not a horrible question, not the best question. If you ask it in the right tonality and the right cadence at the right time after you've built some trust and rapport, then it'll work. But there are better ways to ask that question that are less intrusive and less salesy. But if that's the third question out, or, hey, have you been pre-approved yet? And they're like, what's a pre-approval? They don't even know what that is because that's an industry term that we don't necessarily think about as consumers, right? So when we use these terms that we've been taught, it's not your fault. It's just your sales trainer didn't know how to educate you differently. So they just taught you what they knew. And unfortunately, if it works so well, right, they wouldn't be where they're at. They would probably be out there selling a lot of houses. I remember a KW office that was trying to recruit me when I sold real estate. They, the sales trainer, right, the office manager, really cool lady, super outgoing, super charismatic. And she was trying to tell me how she sells real estate. Now, granted, they reached out to me to recruit me and set up the meeting. And yeah, we had done I individually did like $14 or $16 million the year prior. Small team, like admin staff and stuff like that. And so I was, I'll listen to you. You guys got the fancy office right in downtown Bellevue, right? So I'm listening to this lady and she's telling me how to sell. And I'm like looking at her, not trying to, but I'm lost. And then I was like, well, I'm just curious, since you're the sales trainer, like how many deals in the last 12 months or 6 months have you done? And she goes, well, I blah, blah. And she had been bouncing from one office to another as I started asking her questions, right? She started spewing stuff out to me about her career. And she was very unstable with her sales and her career in that matter. And she had a lot of personal things. She was going through a divorce, I think, and a bunch of stuff, right? Kids, challenging kids because her home life was all fucked up. So the kids were all fucked up. So her divorce was all fucked up, right? So she was bouncing from one place to the other. She had her hair looked like it was all like frizzled and like she was running late in the morning. And I'm like, I'm good where I'm at. Like, I don't need to move my brokerage from where I'm at. Like my team leads are awesome. They're solid, not super stellar, like top of the line salespeople, but that's also not what he wanted, right? Like my old broker, right? I'm not going to say his name, but very solid stand-up man, right? Very solid stand-up man that did 2 deals a month, every month consistently while managing the office, which was a very productive, very busy office. And that he was every month consistent, right? Every month consistent, 2 deals, sometimes 4, but always 2, typically 1 buyer, 1 seller. So he was very, very good at what he did. And he showed up to the sales trainings when they brought other people in. I was like, yo, I'm not going to leave my stable environment for this. But that was because I knew how to ask questions. And listen and read the room, right? And it's stuff that I had been taught over the years of going to, first sales conference was 17 for Cutco. Like that was the first time I went to a sales conference was 17 as a kid selling knives, right? How much sales training have you done in your life? How many times have you reevaluated your scripts, your tone, your calls, right? You want people to trust you, but are you trustworthy? You want people to listen to you, but are you listen worthy? Just because you have a license that took you 120 hours to get does not make you the trusted advisor. In fact, it makes you reckless because you actually don't know the systems, the processes, and the skills necessary. So don't be like this gentleman on Instagram that reaches out to people in the cold DMs, right? Make it easy, right? You guys, I'm all about cold DMs. Many of you, if you follow me on Instagram, probably have gotten a cold DM from me or my team. And that is how we brought you into our ecosystem so we can nurture you. And it's a much easier conversation. Hey, my boss wanted me to reach out to you, right? Thank you for following us. By the way, we have this free training. Here's a link. Would you be interested in it? It covers this. Yes, great. Here's a link. By the way, just curious, how long have you been in real estate for? 5 years. Awesome. Would you be interested in a conversation with Vikram? Yes. Awesome. We booked the call. No. Great. We put them into a nurture campaign because now they've opted into our free training. If the link doesn't work, let us know so that we can get you the right one. just let us know that you got in, and they respond back that, hey, we got it. Cool. Thank you. And then we can start to nurture them, or we send them a new link, right? Because we're not super tech savvy over here, because that's not really my skill set. So, like that's how our DMs work. They're pretty nonchalant, pretty simple. So anyways, don't be like Tyler. If you guys do talk to Tyler, give him some love and just say, Leo, Vic's not being arrogant. He was trying to give you a clue that you were triggering his sales resistance. And maybe instead of saying you're arrogant, maybe ask, is there something that I'm doing? Is there something that I'm saying? Is there something that, is my tonality coming off the wrong way, right? Because our tonality online and our tonality in real life could be totally different, right? Am I triggering people, or am I causing them to not want to work with me? How can I help myself? How can I change that? Maybe you should ask those questions if you're not having the results you want, or maybe you're doing 2 to 3 deals a month, and you've always done that and you've never been able to get to the next level, right? Like no matter what your prospecting is, you're always stuck at that 2 deals a month, and you want to go to 3 or 4, and you have the capacity, you have the systems, obviously, right? You know the processes. So it's not like it's that much more work to go from 2 to 4, unless you're driving like 6 hours all over town. But there's no reason why you can't go to 2 to 4 if you have some basic processes built out. You're always in that 2 to 3. Never get that 4th deal. We can help you with that. So anyways, this is the stuff we teach inside the Real Estate Sales Academy. This is what I teach my private one-on-one clients. If you possibly are interested in learning more about it, go to Instagram or drop a comment here on the YouTube and see if we can get you the help you need to make the sales you want. Anyways, I love you guys. I love you, Tyler. Thank you for being the inspiration behind this 7-minute, 23-minute video. And I hope you stop triggering people that you could possibly help just by being a nicer person.